When a machine weighs more than 14,000 tons and can still move under its own power, size has stopped being decoration. These machines became enormous because the jobs came first. Too much earth to move, too much weight to lift, too much rock to cut, too much money tied up in equipment that cannot afford to sit still. So, engineers built machines large enough to change the job itself. Some can make a human disappear beside one tire. One had to be repaired by digging another giant hole just to reach it. Another can pick up an offshore platform and carry it away. And the final machine is nearly a third of a mile long. Before the giant mining trucks can move anything, they need somewhere to drive. That is where the Cat D11 comes in. Depending on configuration, this bulldozer weighs well over 100 tons. Its huge steel tracks give it the grip to push through broken ground that would stop lighter equipment. Watch the blade hit a pile of loose rock. The machine does not charge into it. It simply keeps pushing until the material starts moving in front of it. Inside a mine, that matters more than it looks. Haul roads have to be opened. Loading areas have to stay level. Rough ground has to be shaped before trucks weighing hundreds of tons can cross it safely. The D11 can push enormous amounts of material aside, then come back and smooth the surface for everything following behind. It is not the biggest machine here, but it prepares the ground for almost everything that is. And once those roads are ready, the next problem begins: keeping the trucks full. Stand next to one tire on a Letourneau L2350, and the wheel rises roughly 13 feet above the ground. Then look at the bucket. It can scoop more than 40 cubic meters of material at once. That bucket exists because giant mining trucks are expensive when they are sitting empty. The L2350 drives into a pile of broken rock, lifts tens of tons, reverses, raises the bucket above the truck body, dumps, and immediately heads back for another load. A smaller loader needs more passes. This one can fill some of the world's largest haul trucks in only a handful. And when a mine runs 24 hours a day, saving time on every loading cycle adds up quickly. The job itself is simple. Scoop rock, fill truck, repeat. The L2350 just performs that job on a scale that makes ordinary wheel loaders look almost miniature beside it. And the truck waiting next to it belongs to an even heavier class. The Belaz 75710 can carry 450 metric tons in one trip, nearly 500 US tons. Fully loaded, the entire truck can approach 900 US tons. Its tires are about 13 feet tall, and the body is more than 30 feet wide. That size creates a strange problem before the truck even starts working. You cannot simply finish one at the factory and drive it to the mine. Major sections are transported separately, then the truck is assembled where it will operate. Once inside the mine, those ridiculous dimensions suddenly make sense. The haul roads are built wide enough for it. The turns are designed around machines this large. And every time the Belaz leaves the loading area, hundreds of tons of rock leave with it. Outside the mine, the truck is a transportation nightmare. Inside it, the entire environment has been built around vehicles like this. The bigger question is what happens when the excavator feeding these trucks stops working. The Cat 6090 FS is a mining excavator in the 1,000-ton class. Its bucket is enormous. Its tracks look oversized even beside giant haul trucks. But its most useful feature appears when something goes wrong. The 6090 uses two independent diesel engines. If one engine fails, the excavator can continue operating at reduced power on the other, instead of becoming a 1,000-ton obstacle in the middle of the mine. That matters because a machine like this rarely works alone. If the shovel stops, the trucks waiting beside it stop making productive trips too. Everything around the loading area begins to slow down. With the second engine still running, the 6090 can keep digging while crews deal with the problem. From the outside, it looks like pure brute force. Huge tracks, huge bucket, huge loads. But the clever part is simple. Losing one engine does not automatically mean losing the entire machine. The next excavator solves a completely different problem: distance. Watch the bucket before you watch the machine. On the P&H 9020 XPC, that bucket can start digging hundreds of feet away from the operator. A boom stretching more than 400 feet reaches across the mine, while cables control a bucket capable of carrying more than 100 cubic meters. The motion looks completely different from a normal excavator. The bucket is sent outward. It lands in the overburden. Cables drag it through the ground until it fills. Then the machine lifts the load, swings, and drops the material somewhere else within its enormous working area. The body barely needs to move. Its reach does most of the work. That lets one dragline remove material from one part of the mine and place it somewhere else without sending a truck through every short movement. It is less like an excavator driving around a pit and more like a giant arm controlling a huge section of landscape. Bagger 293 takes that idea even further. Its digging barely pauses at all. Bagger 293 stands roughly 315 feet tall. It stretches more than 700 feet from end to end. And it weighs more than 14,000 metric tons. Yet this machine can still crawl across a mine. Slowly. At the front, a bucket wheel more than 70 feet across keeps rotating into the earth. One bucket cuts material from the ground and carries it upward. The load drops onto conveyor belts. Before it has even left the machine, another bucket is already cutting. Then another. Most earth-moving machines work in cycles. Dig, load, move, dump, come back. Bagger 293 turns that into a continuous stream. The wheel keeps cutting while the conveyors keep carrying material away. From a distance, the machine looks less like a vehicle and more like part of the mine itself. Then you notice the entire structure moving. And unlike Bagger 293, the next machine had almost no open space around it. It was working underneath Seattle. Bertha's cutting face measured more than 57 feet across. She was built to carve a highway tunnel beneath Seattle, while the city continued operating above. At the front, the cutter chewed through the ground. Behind it, crews installed concrete tunnel sections as Bertha moved forward. Then, in late 2013, she stopped. Serious damage near the front brought the machine to a halt underground. And a tunnel-boring machine weighing thousands of tons cannot simply be pulled out and taken to a repair shop. Crews had to dig a massive access shaft from the surface, deep enough to expose the damaged front of the machine. The repair became a major excavation project of its own. Bertha remained out of action for roughly 2 years before returning to work and eventually completing the tunnel. That failure became almost as famous as the machine itself. Bertha was built to avoid tearing open Seattle from above. Then engineers had to dig one enormous hole anyway, just to reach the machine underneath it. At Britain's Hinkley Point C nuclear construction site, Big Carl towers over almost everything around it. The Saren's SGC-250 can lift up to 5,000 metric tons. That is enough to pick up entire prefabricated sections of a power station in a single lift. And Big Carl does not stay in one position. The crane moves around the site on its own dedicated track system. From above, workers and construction vehicles almost disappear beneath it. Big Carl rotates slowly, while structures weighing thousands of tons hang from the hook. That slow movement is the whole point. At this size, speed is useless if the load ends up in the wrong place. The crane has to lift an enormous section, swing it across the site, then lower it accurately enough for construction crews to continue working around it. Using larger prefabricated sections can also reduce the number of smaller lifts required. One gigantic movement replaces a long sequence of smaller ones. NASA faces a similar challenge. Only its cargo is a rocket. NASA's crawler transporters carry complete launch vehicles from the assembly building to the launch pad. Each crawler weighs roughly 3,000 tons before the rocket and its launch platform are added. Loaded, the machine moves only a little faster than walking speed. But the strangest part appears when the road starts climbing. A normal vehicle tilts with the hill. A towering rocket cannot be treated that casually. The crawler uses a leveling system to adjust the platform as it moves, keeping the launch stack almost upright while the ground rises underneath it. Thousands of tons crawl forward below, while the rocket above remains remarkably steady. These machines first served during the Apollo era. Decades later, upgraded versions are still moving launch vehicles at Kennedy Space Center. The contrast is hard to beat. A rocket designed to leave Earth at enormous speed begins one of the most important trips of its life on a machine slower than someone jogging beside it. From here, the list leaves solid ground. Spartacus cuts rock that the crew cannot even see from the surface. This giant cutter suction dredger stretches more than 500 feet long. Its cutting equipment can reach roughly 150 feet below the water. The cutter disappears beneath the surface and grinds into rock on the seabed. Powerful pumps then pull the broken material away through pipelines. From above, the vessel may look almost stationary. Below it, the bottom of a harbor or shipping channel is being reshaped. That makes Spartacus useful where ordinary dredging equipment reaches its limits. It can deepen waterways, prepare ports, and remove hard seabed blocking larger ships. Most of the real action stays hidden underwater. There is no excavator bucket clearly visible. No haul truck driving away. Just a giant vessel sitting above a piece of ground that is slowly disappearing beneath the sea. The next vessel works offshore too, but instead of removing rock, it can remove an entire platform. An offshore platform can take months to dismantle at sea. Pioneering Spirit was designed to make the largest pieces leave in one operation. The ship is more than 1,200 feet long, with a split bow that allows it to move around an offshore platform. Once in position, giant lifting beams slide underneath the topside. Then the structure comes free. Tens of thousands of tons of steel can rise from the platform legs as a single load. That can remove a long sequence of cutting, smaller crane operations, and offshore work. And the operation looks almost absurdly simple. The ship moves in. The platform stands above it. The lifting system takes the weight. Then a structure that had been fixed in the ocean for years leaves with the vessel. Pioneering Spirit does not simply carry something huge. It changes the way something huge can be removed. The final machine does the opposite. It goes offshore and stays there for decades. Prelude. Phia Long is roughly 1,600 feet long, nearly a third of a mile from end to end. Fully loaded, the floating facility can exceed 600,000 metric tons. But the real shock is what happens on board. Natural gas arrives from offshore wells. Prelude can process it, cool it into liquefied natural gas, store it, and transfer that LNG directly to visiting ships. A chain of industrial facilities that would normally occupy a huge site on land has been packed onto one floating structure. And it has to keep working far offshore in salt water, wind, waves, and tropical weather. Prelude was designed to remain on station for decades. Look at how far the scale has moved. The D-11 prepares an industrial site. Bagger 293 becomes part of one. Pioneering Spirit can carry one away. Prelude carries the industrial site with it. By this point, the line between machine, ship, and factory has almost disappeared. Prelude is the industrial site. Which one goes furthest beyond what you would still call a normal machine? Bagger 293, Pioneering Spirit, or the floating factory that is Prelude Flang? Tell us below, and subscribe to Megamass for more machines, built when ordinary equipment is no longer enough.